Let's get into the papers now, see what the headlines are across Nigeria. We have leadership and communication strategist, Dr. John here, and political technocrat, Dr. Dayo Kayode. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank God it's Monday.
Like happy Monday. Good morning.
For me, I don't think there is anything good in the morning for me, because
why is that?
Look at what you just said, that what Morocco is trying to do, expand their
reforming their
base.
currency. Yeah.
But rather, we are bastardizing our own economy by celebrating birthdays in Dubai, by burying the dead with air conditioning and all that. 73 million naira.
Let's leave that for now. I know people have different arguments and opinions when it comes to that, but let's leave that for now. Thank you very much. Let's start from the Blueprint newspaper now. Blueprint is where we start from, and it says South APC warns anti-Oshomole governors, moderate your 2023 ambition, and says you can't dictate to our zone. National Working Committee members petitions DSS, the police, and state chairs are mum over this. Oshomole's supporters plot to stop neck meeting. Okay, all that you see on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. All right, Business AM is where we go next. In bad shape, Nigeria's 2020 budget deficit could hit 4 trillion naira as oil prices plunge. Apprehension over federal government's borrowings, worse than ever recession on the horizon. We also know that South Africa is in recession as we speak. All right, Daily Trust is where we go next, and how federal government paves way for secret recruitments in MDAs. Will well-connected children get juicy jobs with ease? You find all that on the front page of the Daily Trust, and certainly I'd like my guest to talk about this, as this has been going viral on social media in the last few days. Okay, from there, let's go to the News Direct. News Direct says 4 banks contribute 34% of industry's credit to private sector. Investigations revealing this. Access Bank crosses 2.6 trillion naira in loans and advances to customers. All right, find that on the News Direct. Leadership newspaper says lobbying for APC national chairman position intensifies. Pro-Oshomole governors to meet PMB. That's President Muhammadu Buhari. His adversary is plotting to weaken party ahead of 2023. It's Etai saying that. And as a South zonal leadership passes vote of confidence on Oshomole. You find that on the front page of Leadership newspaper. Daily Times is where we go next. FIDA, others task federal government, states on women's rights and health. Says more needs to be done to ensure gender equality, and empowering women will enhance Nigeria's economy. Okay. Recall that yesterday was International Women's Day, and it was commemorated across the world. Okay. Gentlemen, this story on Daily Trust will interest you, I must say. How federal government paves way for secret recruitments in MDAs, and well-connected children get juicy jobs with ease. The federal character principle was meant to handle these issues where federal parastatals, MDAs, and ministries are all meant to recruit people based on the balance of the states they come from and the region they come from. But with this investigation from Daily Trust, it seems it's a negation of that principle. Doctor, let me start with you on this.
When you begin to create a society of hopelessness, then you should be ready for whatever the backlash will be. And one of the backlashes will be that people will become greedy also, because the only thing I was told was to go to school, that after coming out of school that my life would be better. But I have seen, as we speak now, close to 20 years or over 10 years after graduation, I still receive calls from my classmates who are yet to get job. At a point, our unemployment rate in Nigeria hit 23.something%. That's, I think, third quarter of 2018. I don't know what the reality is today. Even with that figure, I was part of the people that came out to say, I do not believe. Because in reality, when you hit the street, you know what people are facing. So, and incidentally too, a friend of mine got job in the CBN. So I understand the fact that he was connected to one person in the CBN, and before we knew it, she disappeared from the office where she was before, and before we got to know, she was already working in the CBN. All these things will continue to destroy the psyche of the people. And what that will do is that behind every Yahoo case that you see is frustration. Right. Behind every drug case that you see is frustration. How do we want to cure frustration when people have taken the pain to go to school and they come out and they cannot find jobs? All right. It's quite unfortunate.
Dr. Coyote, the issue of connection that people always talk about, that connection, that connects there where you need to know someone to get a job at the federal, parastatal, even within the ministries, is something that has been on for, people have been talking about this for a long time. But will the federal government say they're not aware of some of these things that happen?
Who are the people that they connect that even put them there? Because when you're talking about federal government, it's not just the president. It's not just the members of the executive. It also includes people that works with the Federal Character Commission, people that work with due process. I think there is a department for due process or so.
We have the due process office.
Do you understand? So those two are supposed to be in charge of recruitment. Because when you want to recruit, there's what we call procedure. So to what extent are they following that procedure? That is one. Two, even those people that are being connected now in quotes, how capacious are they in all those areas that they are being placed? Is it not, they will just say, okay, it's not, okay, just qualify him and then put him or her there. Let him or her be working. So you can now see why our economy is where it is. Look at what is happening now in Morocco. It is one of them that will have taught it. Hey, look, even though we are not in West Africa, we can still have a kind of a collaboration with them. And they applied to become part of ECOWAS because they know that will increase their focus of markets. That will expand their economic activities. But when you don't put people that can reason properly in a particular position, what do you expect from us? And that is why we are where we are today. Imagine somebody who had gone to school to read something like Islamic studies or Yoruba or religious studies and all that, and then because he or she knows somebody, and then being asked to come and work in CBN, for goodness sake, what would that one deliver?
Yeah, but there are times where you could study a thing, but you can have a skill in something else.
How many of them had gotten that skill? If you look at the kind of graduates we are producing today, most of them cannot discuss outside their main course. Unlike when we were in school, I was in social sciences. I went to arts to go and take some courses. I went to education to go and take some courses. Do you understand?
But they still do those things. They still take elective courses from all around.
What I'm saying is, most of them, how many wants to learn outside what they have gone to study in school? So those are issues and is affecting our economy. Something needs to be done. Are you aware that it was in the news last week that some people were using as much as 3 million or so to buy jobs with the Federal Character Commission? It was in the news.
Yes, a friend of mine was actually contacted Mike that he could work in one, I will not mention the name of the ministry, that I should bring, I think 1.2 million.
See that?
And he called me to discuss with me whether we could raise the money. Then the first thing I did was the calculation of how much his emolument and salary will be maybe in the next 20 years, because having removed what you will use for house rent and all that, and I was advising him that if you have this opportunity of people raising, if I have that kind of money. Really, instead of going to buy a slot in the ministry, I would rather buy a shop or get a shop and
start
an outfit of mine.
Start an outfit. But because all of us are not gifted with this entrepreneurship spirit and skill, and because of the focus of our education, I keep saying it, that we need to define the kind of education we want and the kind of education we need. Now the kind of education we get is making it a little bit difficult for us to actually even develop as a nation. I was watching a match yesterday, football match. Then I saw some of these young guys playing. Then I was talking to somebody beside me that if majority of these guys had been in Nigeria, they would be struggling to pass GNS in the university. Now you struggle to pass this GNS in the university, they tell you that you should struggle to make a first class. And you make a first class, and the best thing you can get is to be a teacher in a private school where they pay you 25,000. At the end of the day, what you get is to hit the street, driving Okada.
I mean,
all this, all that. As much as I've worked in an organization before where your card will not even carry your designation, that is to say that either you're a security man or you are a manager, you are very important to the organization. That does not mean that an Okada rider is not important. Yeah. But our education system must support our purpose in life. If I want to become a bus driver, the kind of education I receive in and out of school should tailor my destiny towards that path. Not that after believing that I want to be a doctor or a nurse, having spent times, I've been jammed by jam several times, and I get to the institution, a course of 6 years is elongated to 10 years, and after that, I can still not get job. It's quite unfortunate. So we must begin to think that...
What will you expect of such a person?
Yes, our focus should be on the kind of education that will develop our land. What all we were told is get into school.
All right. Now, Dr. Kayode, I wonder what the impact of this is. If we continue this way, where if this report is anything to go by, where the young people who are linked to one person or the other have to be the ones to get the job, then what kind of a society are we creating? What impact do you think this is going to have in the long run?
There is no shortcut to it. We are digging our grave for one, a very, very decadent society, whereby growth, both economic growth and economic development, will become something that we will not be able to achieve, unlike other countries. Okay. Imagine, when you know that, yes, somebody had backed you to a particular position, number one, you will owe allegiance to that person. Number two, even those people that you are working with, they will not be able to give you proper control because they know that you are coming from a big man. So that means your activities, what you are supposed to do, will be lacking in that particular office. So what does that mean?
You know the principle of ogota in Yoruba?
That is
either I work or not, I'm going to receive my salary at the end of the month.
Do you understand?
You said it's principle of
ogota. That is to say, whether the business is growing or not, at the end of the day, I will still collect my salary. And then from where are you drawing that?
Well, it's time indeed to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers this morning. I have with me in the studio leadership and communication strategist Dr. Ojon and political technocrat Dr. Dayo Kayode. Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning.
How are you both doing? Happy Monday indeed. Well, let's get straight to work. Beginning with the blueprint, which is leading with this on politics. South-South APC wants anti-Oshomole governors moderate your 2023 ambitions, says you can't dictate to our zone. NWC member petitions DSS and the police state chairs mum, and Oshomole's supporters are reportedly plotting to stop the NEC meeting slated for this week. Business AM is right. Strictly business. In bad shape, it says Nigeria's 2020 budget deficit could hit 4 trillion naira as oil prices plunge, apprehension over federal government's borrowing, worse than ever recession on the horizon is also being predicted here. Let's check out Daily Trust, leading with how federal government paves way for secret recruitment in MDAs. It says that well-connected children get juicy jobs with ease. The News Direct is also towing the line of business, reporting that 4 banks contribute 34% of industry credit to private sector. This is based on findings conducted. Axis Bank crosses 2.6 trillion naira in loans and advances to customers. Leadership is next. Lobbying for APC national chairman position intensifies. Pro-Oshomole governors to meet President Buhari. His adversaries plotting to weaken party ahead of 2023. This according to ETA, and South-South zonal leadership passes vote of confidence on the comrade. We also have the Daily Times. It's leading with this report on International Women's Day held yesterday. FIDA others task Nigeria, states on women's rights and health. Says more needs to be done to ensure gender equality and that empowering women will enhance Nigeria's economy. Finally, at this time is The Nation. And the big story there is still on the APC, what it calls the APC crisis. Governors take Oshomole's case to the Villa. Ganduje others rally support as Kogi, Gombe, Yobe governors join anti-chairman's group, and NWC to sanction official for calling NEC meeting. Police also said to remain at the secretariat. Gentlemen, let's go the line of the business day. Now, talking about Nigeria's budget in bad shape as deficit, it says, could hit 4 trillion naira. What do you make of this, Dotun? Are you also as concerned about the direction the budget seems to be taking?
I am extremely concerned, not just as a Nigerian, but as a person who had always hoped that we will get it right as far as governance is concerned. You cannot have a budget of over 10 trillion naira and situations will drive you to taking loan as high as 4 trillion to actually support it. More so that this is the concept of leadership that we have always talked about. There will be uncertainties in the process of governance. And when you're doing a budget, a good planner is not he who sits in January of any year and says this is what he wants to do. A good planner is a person that puts his pen to paper by January, and by June you can see that it's actually following through. So the budget of any nation is the destiny direction of that nation. So it's beyond having a budget, you must be able to follow through. But that has been the problem.
Are you going the direction of falling oil prices has not been an excuse?
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. So when you are planning for 2020 as an individual, for example, you want to do this, you want to achieve this, there are things that you do not have control over. One of them is the oil prices. And that's where we put all our hope in. Now we did, I think it's $57 per barrel estimation when we're doing our budget. Now we're hovering somewhere around $30. How do we want to cope? So I am concerned. I am concerned that as at the time former President Olusegun Obasanjo was going in the year 2007, our foreign reserve was in good shape. Okay. I am concerned that as at 2006, we had a debt relief. And between 2007 and 2011, everything has completely gone. The governors were on the neck of the president then, that demonstrated what's it called? Sovereign fund. And now we are in bad shape. We don't have, our foreign reserve has gone down. Our debt is rising. Our population is rising, not at par with the level of our development.
All right. Okay. So let me compare your views now with the doctor here. So what do you think? Should we have indeed predicted these uncertainties with oil prices now?
Now, my own concern is not even about the rising debt profile, but I want us to look at it from 2 angles. The first perspective is this. As an individual, as a country, as a group, you must have a vision. So the question is, what is the vision of Nigeria? That's one. Then if you have a vision, you must have a concept upon which you are going to build that your vision. With that concept, you must build what we call contents. So that at any point in time, even when there is a problem, you'll be able to know what to do. You know, okay, after this level, this is where I am going. All right? But do we have that? That is one perspective. The second perspective, remember, a few weeks ago, the president was even saying of all the money that have been given to NDDC, he couldn't see any development. So, even if our debt is rising, it would have been a big concern to me if this money, we can see what is being used for. But it is a pity. We have people that have hedonistic character and profligatic tendencies managing these funds. And to that extent, we cannot see what this... Look at Brazil. There was a time that Brazil's debt was shocking. But they said, let us see where we will be in 10 years. But look at them today. Okay, let me ask this question. Perhaps we can now end on a positive note, because people are talking now about how we can best avoid the recession we experienced. And so let me just begin with you, Dr. Kayode. What would your recipe be now to avoid a recession as it's been predicted out there? As far as we are concerned in this country, if we still manage our economy the way we are managing it, not even looking at the extent of capital flight. That is also an issue. That is another big issue. Indeed. The capital flight. Look at that dual cars being imported for National Assembly. Look at series of frivolous spendings. Somebody burying, and then putting lights inside the burial ground, putting air condition there. Somebody loading a whole plane to go and have a party outside the country. And then you are now saying we are not going to go into recession. Somebody buying vehicles that you don't need and displaying it to us. And you say we are not going to go into recession. Between you and me, there is nobody that will give any recipe other than changing the managers of our economy.
I think...
Towing the line, please, pardon me, Dot. So we've seen the Minister of Finance, suggesting or hinting at, the need to review the budget. We might have to bring the document back. Would you support this now as we try and tow away against recession?
Of course, reality will force us to do that. I think it's even an act of courage for the government to be thinking about that, because what we've had over time is that even when we see that this thing is not going to work, we'll just be putting here to keep our ego. So if the government feels that they will have to readdress it, I think it's a very good reality. But again, picking it from where Dr. stopped.
Right, you've talked about external reserves now, a concern to you. What other areas are you looking at?
Within, let's profile the solution within. The first thing we have to do is we need to allocate more resources to people living in abject poverty. When we want to solve this problem, that has been in the burner. Since 2014, the United Nations says the best way to cure some of this economic crisis is allocate more resources to people living in abject poverty.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of things. NAPEP, DFREE, all sorts of things in the past.
In Nigeria,
but the money ends in somebody's pocket.
The major challenge we have is that for every program any government puts in place, there's a partisan dimension to it. For example, if you say, I was a young boy of about, I think, 17 years when they talked about agriculture. And I went to the then Bank of Agriculture. But I discovered that the majority of people, I was 18, the majority of people who could access the facility then were card-carrying members of a political party.
But that seems to have changed now, because the repatriation of looted funds, now we've seen them hitting the market.
So yeah,
come and collect your 10,000.
That's why I believe that if we actually change the focus, the direction of our allocation. There was a time in this country that we used 25% of our entire budget to service the need of the National Assembly. So you allocate more resources to people in poverty. And one of the other ways to do that...
Which way are you going to allocate that, and the money we get to those in
One of the other ways to do that is that when everybody has access to facility, for example, if I am a small-scale entrepreneur and I can get to the bank and take a loan in single digit.
How about
that
Smedan?
will actually
How about
affect
Smedan?
Okay.
Smedan not there. What is happening to
some
Smedan?
of these things, if we look inward and develop our economy from inward and rely less on some of these foreign importations, then we may actually be
that's
getting
valid.
out
But
of,
I can see Dr. Kayode, you know, speaking out in reaction.
We have gotten a lot of all these things from time immemorial.
We will not say because we have got it before that we will not do something again.
I have started seeing all this since the days of Udoji Award. Are you with me? Along the line, so many other things are being done to alleviate. Okay, how about even poverty alleviation program? Better life for rural women. At the end of the day, how many of the rural women had been empowered? When you want to empower people, when you are saying you want to do this, you will be buying them a rogi.
The problem is not.
The problem is not with the initiative. There is somebody who said I want to empower the youth, and then you were giving them wheelbarrow.
Gentlemen, we've run out of time. I know this is a very burning issue, but Dr. Kayode and Dr. Ojo, let's rest this discussion at this point. Thank you both for your valid points.
Let's see the headlines and see what the papers are saying this morning in Nigeria. I have with me Dr. John as well as Dr. Dayo Kayode in the studio, and they will help us make sense of the headlines this morning. Gentlemen, nice to see you.
Good morning.
Nice seeing you, but is it about reviewing the budget or being proactive and then being deterministic in what you want to do?
The review is a makeup of that kind of determination.
So when you review and you don't put a proper perspective in it, where will it lead you?
How do you determine proper perspective?
What happened when they were even making this particular budget? Why did they not envision?
Nobody knew coronavirus was going to come. You know, when the budget, you remember the budget as of December, when the budget was being passed and all of that, nobody knew corona.
What I'm saying is we are always on this oil thing.
Yeah.
Why are we not divested from oil to other areas?
It's part of what the government is doing.
By now we will have been having a place to have to absorb the shock.
Okay.
To absorb the shock.
Let's get into blueprint now. That's where we start from this morning. Even though Dr. Kayode is very agitated with but let's start with this. South APC warns anti-Oshomole governors. Moderate your 2023 ambitions, says you can't dictate to our zone. Northwest, the National Working Committee member petitions DSS and police. And state chairs mum over this. Oshomole supporters plot to stop NEC meeting. You find all that on the front page of the blueprint. Business AM is next now, and it says, in bad shape, Nigeria's 2020 budget deficit could hit 4 trillion naira as oil prices plunge and apprehension cover federal government's borrowing. Worse than ever, recession on the horizon. You find it on Business Day. Daily Trust is next. How federal government paves way for secret recruitment in MDAs. Well-connected children get juicy jobs with ease. All that you will see there. And on the front page, there's an infographic on how these play out, and certainly also give some corporations there. The NDIC from here, he says, recruited about over 100 employees in 2018. And then the Federal Inland Revenue Service is reported here, also recruited without carrying out advertisement. Central Bank of Nigeria recruited more than 900 people. Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, recruited more than 200 people. And Rural Electrification Agency recruited without advertisement. You find all that on the front page of the Daily Trust. From there, let's go to the News Direct. 4 banks contribute 34% of industry's credit to private sector. Investigations revealing this. Access Bank crosses 2.6 trillion naira in loans and advances to customers. You find that on News Direct. Leadership newspaper is next now. Lobbying for APC national chairman position intensifies. Pro-Oshomole governors to meet President Muhammadu Buhari. And his adversary is plotting to weaken party ahead of 2023. Ita is saying that. And South-South zonal leadership passes vote of confidence on Oshomole. I guess my guests would like to talk about this. Then the Daily Times, International Women's Day, feeder others task federal government, states on women's rights and health. It says more needs to be done to ensure gender equality, and empowering women will enhance Nigeria's economy. And certainly everyone agrees with this. And then from there, let's go to the Nation newspaper, and it's focusing on the APC crisis. Governors take Oshomale's case to the Villa, and Ganduje others rally support as Kogi, Gombe, Yobe governors join anti-chairman's group. National Working Committee to sanction official for calling NEC meeting, and policemen to remain at Secretariat. Gentlemen, I wonder what you make of it, because this issue is degenerating or going deeper one way or the other. A court recently, an Abuja High Court recently declared, said that Oshomale should stop parading himself as the national chairman. And then the Federal High Court in Kano came to say, well, he remains the chairman. Okay, so all that has been going back and forth. Now the all-powerful governors are now, you know, divided between each other as to the support for Oshomale and anti-Oshomale. And the South-South is passing a vote of confidence on him. Now, what do you make of us building institutions when it comes to political party? Dr. Kaide, let me start with you here. This is your area.
Now you can see why we have not been having good governance in this country, because it is all over permutation for positions every time. After elections, they want to start looking at what happens next, rather than settling down for governance. And to a very large extent, you now see the followers, the people themselves, even meddling into this sort of activities. Since the inception of this government, it has always been from one issue to the other, especially on the issue of chairmanship of that particular party. I remember saying it vividly on one particular platform that there's a difference between a grown politician and a grown unionist. They are two different things. The way you handle unionism is different from the way you handle political activities. All right? Now, the kind of character you have in Oshiomhole that we have ever known is all about giddy giddy bang bang. As regards unionism,
but the so-called
unionism.
But the so-called giddy giddy bang bang you're talking about has helped the party in ability to mobilize in the grassroots.
No, to that extent, you can see him. I read some of his press releases saying, when I was in Ekiti, I assisted this as against this, my friend. Should that word assisted be there?
Okay. All right.
So those are so many things.
When he is chairman, he has to do everything within his powers to ensure that the party
look at where Baba Akonde was the chairman of that, acting chairman of that party. You could see the way he was managing crisis.
All right, but everybody's way of leadership cannot be the same. But Doctor, let me bring you in here. Now, some people would say, well, when you see these kind of wranglings within the political party, we had it even when PDP was in power, you know, it was a continuous. Now we have the APC and all of that. Even when the Constitution specifies clearly what should happen at what point, what should happen at whatever point, and so on. Even if you're going to remove a chairman in the middle of his tenure, there are laid down procedure to carry out all that, and who has the powers to do it or not. Would you see this as the teaching level of growing democracy? Some would say these are things we should have experienced maybe in the 70s or in the 80s if we didn't have the military.
Oh, I am thankful that you actually use the word constitution, because any organization that makes its constitution secondary is also making crisis constant. If you have a constitution and you decide to say because of one thing or the other, because you don't like the face of somebody, that you are going to jettison whatever the Constitution says and you want to punish somebody. And often I tell people that in leadership, there are three principles that are actually tailoring, that are dictating the pace of our leadership style in Nigeria. The first is leadership of resentment, that, oh, because this person did this at one point in time, I must get back at him. Because this political party did this at one point in time, when I become somebody, I'm good. Unfortunately, I tell people you do not have all the time in your hand. You have to do what you need to do at a particular time so that we continue to move forward. So the crisis we have in APC is unexpected. I'm only disappointed that it's taking the PDP template, because it's a exact PDP template. It shows that in Nigeria, that political parties do not have problem. It is partisan people that have issues, and they take their problem from one party to the other. If APC lose election today, another party wins, they will take their problem again to another party. So the problem we have is not even with APC, it's with the partisan.
So it's the politicians.
Essentially,
that move from one political party to the other to destabilize.
All right.
You see, and essentially,
yes,
picking it
very
from
quickly.
there, it is now better for us. We have seen it is always better now to build institutions rather than building powerful individuals. Yeah. Because the moment you build institutions, everybody will have to fall in.
Yes.
It will cage them.
Right.
It will stop them. They have neck now.
Okay.
What is the neck doing?
Let's leave it here. Carry the head.
Yeah. Dotun. All right, let's leave it here now. Dr. John, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
Dr. Dayo Kayode, thank you very much as well.
It's our pleasure.